Hey Clarinet Sax Mouthpiece students, this is Mr. Torres, and today we are going to talk about saxophone and clarinet mouthpiece barrel, mouthpiece neck assembly, okay? In a future video, we will talk about whole instrument assembly, but today we are just focused on these parts right here. In this video, I'm going to go back and forth between a clarinet and saxophone because the setups are very, very similar. So to begin, we are going to start with the clarinet side. So on the clarinet mouthpiece, clarinet players, you'll notice that there's a cork right here, okay? And so I believe in building things from the bottom. So what we're going to do is that we're going to have our mouthpiece, our barrel standing up with the small side on top because that's where our cork is going to go, okay? So notice right here that there's a large side and a small side. And this is where our cork is going to be. So we're going to take our mouthpiece in one hand, our barrel like this in a fist, not a tight fist, but just a fist in our other hand. And we're going to gently twist more than we push, okay? And this is what our final result will look like. Just so, and here it is from the top. All right, now saxophones, very similar to clarinet, you guys also have a cork. And this part of the mouthpiece, and every single saxophone mouthpiece has this, a circular hole where the cork is going to go. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to twist more than we push. Okay, and that's just where my saxophone mouthpiece lines up. Now, saxophones, unlike clarinets, we actually have to worry about alignment, okay? How do we know when our saxophone is aligned? Well, on the underside of our neck, there's a line right here. Every saxophone has this. And we know that our mouthpiece and neck is aligned when this hole is in line with this line right here, okay? If you always look for this alignment, you will never be wrong. And here it is from the top side, just so you can see what that looks like. Also, guys, whenever we're assembling, make sure that we always grip the neck from the underside. We never ever want to grip the neck like this, okay? If we do that, we can bend the octave key and then our saxophone won't work. So be very careful to grab it from the right side. All right, so now let's switch back to clarinet. Now, there's a couple of ways to do this, but here's how I like to do it. Now, we're going to pretend that my reed has already been moistened. So I'm going to leave that right there for right now. The next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to put my ligature on my mouthpiece, okay, just like this. Now, right now, many of you are probably thinking, wait, you have to stop at the line. Don't worry about that yet. We're going to get there in a second. All right, and I'm going to go back to saxophone, do the exact same thing. Put my ligature gently on. Now, some of you may be thinking, wait, but my ligature doesn't look like that. How do I know which is the right side? You might have a ligature that looks like this, a ligature that might look like this. Some of you have this one, the leather one with the screw over here. And some of you may also have this one right here, okay? Now, no matter which one you have, because we all know that ligatures come in all shapes and sizes, I will tell you how your ligature is going to go on, okay? So, and if you ever have questions about that, you can always email me. You could always just ask me in person, but more than likely, I'll get to it in class. So now the final step of this assembly is that we are going to moisten our reeds, which we're going to pretend that is already moistened, and we're going to hold our mouthpiece and ligature to where the whole of the mouthpiece is pointing to the sky, okay? This is very important, all right? The reeds are very fragile and we don't want to break them. So gripping the reed from the bark, that's the bottom part, with our thumb on top, finger on the bottom, we're going to gently slide our reed on the table of the mouthpiece. We talked about that in class. And to make it easier, you can push the ligature up with your thumb. And we're going to line up the reed so that it's in the center of the mouthpiece, okay? And it has to be in the center because if it's too far to the left or too far to the right, air is going to leak and we're going to get a squeak and we don't want that. All right, now comes the part with the line. So on this mouthpiece, there's a line and I'm going to stop my ligature right here where the line is. So after that, I'm going to tighten my ligature until it stops on its own. We don't want to make it too tight because that can break the ligature. And then we have a fully assembled clarinet mouthpiece and barrel. And one more thing I forgot to mention is that clarinets, you guys are going to have your reeds just slightly below the tip of the mouthpiece, maybe just about a millimeter, okay? That's going to be very important. Now saxophones, you guys are very similar. So just like the clarinet, we're going to start with our mouthpiece hole pointing towards the sky, and just like the clarinet, thumb on the bark, finger on the back, push our ligature up with our thumb or a finger, whatever is more comfortable for you, and we're going to gently slide it without touching the top of the reed, okay? And so we're going to guide it with our pointer finger and our thumb so that it stays in the middle. All right, now saxophones, you're a little bit different from clarinet. For you guys, the reed is going to be tip of the reed to the tip of the mouthpiece. All right, I'm going to make sure that's level by looking at it from the side. It looks level, that's good. And although there's not a line on this mouthpiece, you guys are going to have a line on yours. And just like with the clarinet ligature, we're going to tighten until the screw stops on its own. We don't want this too tight. All right, and there we have a beautifully assembled saxophone mouthpiece and neck and a beautifully assembled clarinet mouthpiece and barrel. If you have any questions, please email me or you can contact me directly. Thanks, guys.